I have both the fortune and the misfortune of having to go after that. I was so inspired by what we just heard, and it made me think of one of my favorite prophetic traditions, which says basically what means that the greatest and most noble struggle is speaking a word of truth to power. This was in light of the bravery, the courage that one needs to make their voices heard even when they're afraid. And this is really what this project is about. It's about giving a community a voice that has for too long been silent, despite the enormous contributions that the American Muslim community is making to their country. We know through our research that American Muslims are among the most educated, affluent, and entrepreneurial communities in America. But when it comes to being represented, when it comes to having a seat at the table, the picture changes dramatically. This is a poll that Gallup did a couple of years ago, and as you can see, it's quite clear that American Muslims are the least likely faith community in the United States to be registered to vote. The most basic need, the most basic requirement for having a voice. Our project that we'd like to share with you tonight has 3 goals. The first is to answer this question: why should we vote? Why is there a need for greater civic engagement, for greater representation for American Muslims? It's a question that we should have already answered and have answered so many times, but to make the case once and for all for the urgency and the critical need for a voice and representation in our political system. So why should we vote is the first question to answer in this project. The second is, what do we do with that seat at the table? What are the policy priorities that are meaningful to this very diverse community? So a lot of times, even when elected officials ask the community, what are your priorities? Many times we don't have a good answer. The responses are anecdotal. They're not rooted in truly looking at the community's priorities in a systematic and rigorous way. This report will change that because we will do a systematic look at the priorities of the community by doing deep interviews with policy and strategy and civic leaders in the community and outside. And finally, the third major pillar of this project is to learn from success, to understand what it takes to truly organize the community, to bring them out, to change this dynamic of being the least likely community to be registered to vote. What have other communities done to change that dynamic within their own people, and how can this community learn from those successful models? So to come out with powerful, actionable recommendations to make change. Everything that we do to enable and to empower the community. We believe in collaboration, so we will take this research and empower all of the other organizations working on this issue. There is a multiplicative effect to having good, rigorous research so that every other organization working on this in this field can actually make powerful strategies based on research. The kinds of stakeholders we'll be looking at are scholars, political activists, campaign strategists, grassroots leaders, as well as Muslim elected officials. Now, the budget is, 1/2 of it will come from foundations. So we have to make a very well thought out strategic grant proposal to get funds from foundations. Everything at ISPU is done to the gold standard of research, and that's how half of our work is funded by organizations in competitive grants. and the other half has to be an investment from our community. And what if we don't act? Well, what happens when we don't act is that fear will prevail over hope. Thank you.